Today's episode of the Get Your Comic On podcast may contain mild spoilers for the movies, shows, comic books, and games that we're discussing. And, if you're lucky, there might be some PG-13 language. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. Hey super friends, it's Neil and welcome to a brand new episode of the Get Your Comic On podcast. Believe it or not, but we are about to enter the final season of Stranger Things. There are only 8 episodes left until this wonderful, wonderful show comes to an end. So we figured now is a pretty good time before the first 4 episodes of season 5 drop to sit down and go over our memories of the show so far and then dive deep into some theories about what we think might be about to happen in season 5. I am joined this episode by Michael. He's back. How you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for having me again.
You don't have to say that. You are a bona fide co-host. You are part of the family. You are always welcome every episode.
It's for the privilege to be here.
People love you.
I keep expecting you just to be like, yeah, you're done. We're not going to have you anymore. So
Not anymore. Okay. We're going to start at the beginning. We're going to kind of talk about how we first got introduced to the show, because I don't know your fan story behind Strange Things. And then we're going to reflect a bit on the first 4 seasons. I have to say, before we dive into it, I have seen the first episode of season 5. We can talk about the premiere a bit if you want to hear about my experience of the red carpet at Strange Things season 5. So I'm going to try very, very hard not to accidentally spoil anything from the episode itself. But I might, my eyebrows might rise, or I might just make a face and be like, if we say something. But I promise I will try not to spoil anything like too major for what is to come when we get to it. And I'm kind of interested to hear theories, because I'm not sure I have any idea where this is headed. But before we get to the future, let's go right back to the beginning. What was your introduction to Stranger? Firstly, 10 years? How wild is 10 years?
10 years, 5 seasons. That feels like not a lot of seasons for a decade. But
I can't think of any other show that's had this amount of breathing. I know there was a pandemic, but to think that they had this amount of breathing space to create 42 episodes across 10 years is kind of cool. I don't feel like other shows would be allowed that much time, because it's like, keep getting the content out, keep doing anything that we can make money from. Did you begin watching the show right when it first came out? Did you come to it later? How did you find your way to Hawkins, Indiana?
So for me, what I find really interesting about Stranger Things is it was like the first Netflix like bingeable show that I came across, and it was the first one that I remember watching where like all of a sudden everyone around me was been like, "Have you seen this TV show?" And I just kind of stumbled on it like you do on Netflix when you just scroll in, and it looked really good. I think at the time I'd come across the trailer for it in Netflix, like it wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
I just came back to it and I really enjoyed it. And then it's just stuck with me ever since. And I think it's only gotten better, which is good. Not every TV show does that. But yeah, so it was like the first bingeable show I came across, really.
I feel like for a lot of people, it was the first bingeable show that they kind of came across. It feels like the first big streaming era show of all the streamers. I was just before we came on to record this, I was watching Winona Ryder do a brand new episode of Happy, Sad, Confused with Josh Horowitz. And the two of them were kind of joking about how when she got the role, I think this was the 4th episode she's done with him, and he was saying how when they first spoke about Stranger Things, she had no idea what a streamer was or what that kind of binging streaming TV format was like. But I feel like that was kind of how we all were at that point. Like, this was right at the beginning of it, and probably the whole reason we now have the entire industry that we have.
Exactly. It feels like it was almost like the first brick in the streaming world that we know now. So it's kind of sad to see it end, because it's like the end of it.
I don't even know what they had before it. really.
Maybe like Orange is the New Black could be a
Oh,
good
yeah, I suppose so,
comparison.
yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, I remember I remember when my sister used to rent DVDs through Netflix when it was a DVD rental company. So you
no,
would go on the website, you would pick what film you wanted to rent, and they sent it to you in the post because it was Blockbuster, but without the store. Like, you just went online and requested the DVD rather than go to the store and pick it out off the shelf.
yeah,
That's like my first Netflix memory is seeing that logo and being like, "Oh, okay." That's kinda like, I get it. It's taking Blockbuster and putting it online and saving you from going to the shop, but, like, now kind of wild to think that they've gone from that to this, like, behemoth company that
yeah.
may be trying to buy Warner Brothers right now.
That's a crazy thing, by the way. Like, if they do that, that is gonna be game
Mm.
changing. Because
Oh,
again,
that's gonna
if Netflix back in the day, like a decade ago, I
would
never
never
in my
have.
wildest dreams would have thought that was an option. Like, it
Yeah,
felt like such a small kind of independent thing that was
yeah,
so adjacent from, like, the Hollywood machine that we know it, and
yeah.
now it's a massive part of it.
I
Crazy.
remember thinking, like, Winona Ryder was probably the only really recognizable face in season 1, and thinking, "Oh, wow, like, how did this, like, tiny little platform, like, score this amazing actor who is just, like, iconic to be in this show that looks kinda cool, but we don't really know where it's gonna go, and have they got the budget to do something as big as it sounds like it's gonna be from the premise?" And obviously the Duffer Brothers, nobody had really heard of them. We'd never heard of any of these kids,
Nope.
and it's, like, 0 to iconic for all of them, which is just crazy.
Yeah, like, there's characters in this TV show that I think are arguably some of the coolest characters we've seen in television, point blank. Like, we'll get into it later when we go over our favorites, but there's just so many like cool characters that
Yeah,
stand the test of the time. Like some of them are like Halloween outfits, some of them are memes, some of
yeah.
them are quotes. It's everything. It's so good.
And that was the kind of thing that I think made it so iconic to begin with. I feel like that word's gonna get used a lot this episode. Um, the fact that it's, like, set in the '80s. Oh, hello. Come on, you come sit on my knee.
Got a visitor.
Hello. Uh, yeah, the fact that it's set in the '80s, but it's '80s in every aspect. So, the language is still very '80s. They haven't used a contemporary kind of lens to look at the 1980s. I feel like it is '80s and it could have been made in the '80s. It's
Mhm.
just that it has the benefit of the budget and the technology that we have now. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's kind of what made it work so well. Because you look at some other stuff that's set in the '80s but made now, and they kind of forget certain aspects of it, and it's like, "Oh, well, it's now, but you're just telling me that it's the '80s," and it just doesn't work. It doesn't feel like it's from that era, whereas this feels like it is from that era at the same time.
Yeah, I get that. I think like even like down to the things like the games that they play, like D&D, like there's really small like little details throughout the
Yeah.
entire thing. Even like the bikes that they ride in the first
Yeah.
season is very 80s. They've not just slapped an 80s song in the background and it does really resemble that decade. So I'd agree
Yeah.
with that.
Sidebar, but I just on like the I don't feel like anybody spotted anything in this show that I have seen, so please feel free to let me know if I'm wrong on this, where something from a different era has accidentally snuck in where they've got it wrong. I was just reading someone who'd written a piece online uh, saying that they can't watch Black Widow because they realized that the My Little Pony stuffed toy that Yelena has
Oh.
is a character that wasn't invented until 2010 in that franchise, but she has it in the '80s flashback, and
Oh.
I'm sure someone would just go, "Multiverse." But it's that kind of attention to detail, which I think is what sets this show apart, because like you just said, it's all perfect in that
Yeah.
respect from what I have seen, and I was around for half of the '80s, um, quite literally half of it, and yeah, it's just that's what makes it work for me, especially in
Yeah.
that first season, because it's like I think we live in such an age now that if your first season is not perfect right out of the gate, you don't really survive much longer.
No.
And this is the thing I always talk about as a Star Trek fan, because like if you go back to season 1 of The Next Generation, that is not a great season of television. And like we're rewatching it now because Martin's never really done every single episode of it. And you watch it now and you're like, because you'll have like a really great episode that you're like, oh, I get it. It's got all of that classic Trek sensibility about it. They are exploring their it's new. There's something slightly political about it. There's a bit of a message, but and it has all of it there. And then you get to the next one, and it's like people in skimpy bikinis running around on a like sex planet, and you're like, oh,
Oh,
no, this was made in 1989, but like, what were you doing?
yeah.
But because there were still people watching it, and it wasn't an era where you were one and done,
Mm.
they got a second season, and it improved drastically, and then it went on for 7 seasons and, like, 3 spin-offs after that, and then all of the Star Trek that we have now. And I feel like this show was perfect right out of the gate, and if it hadn't been, we wouldn't be in this position right now.
I agree. I also think the internet has like a massive part in why this TV show survived. I
Yeah.
think Winona and the Lights from the season one, like that as a meme. I think
Yes.
memes play a really big part. Excuse me. I think memes play a really big part in TV shows like legacy.
Creating
And
those moments that people always go back to and reference for something, for some reason, whether it's like a
yeah,
comedy thing or whether it's a serious thing.
yeah, it's almost like the modern like zeitgeist. Like
Yeah.
if someone knows a meme or if something becomes a meme, it means like it's hit almost everybody. And I
Yeah.
think like 11 and like the Eggo waffles and
Yeah.
Winona and the right like the lights on the wall, it kind of just found this really like interesting spot in time where it kind of like you said, it was a really good show that was like almost movie quality, which we've
Yeah.
not really seen yet. And it was on Netflix, which was weird. And it had all these elements in its favor, which I don't think you see a lot these days. It just yeah ticked every box. I guess is a really good
Yeah.
way.
And I feel like it arrived at a point where binge watching was still quite new as well. Because you
Yeah,
hear so many people now, and we've talked about so many other shows on this podcast where it's like, oh, do you know what? I kind of wish I could watch it week by week rather than having to binge it either to avoid spoilers or because the entire series is dropped and I can't help myself. I feel like we were all kind of only just discovering what that was with this show.
yeah.
'Cause I don't feel like people binged Orange Is the New Black quite so much, whereas this dropped and it was like, "Well, I have to watch the next one, I have to watch the next one," and then suddenly it was like, "Ah, I get it, this is what binge TV is."
Hmm. What I find really interesting about that actually is this season of Stranger Things, season five.
Mm,
Obviously they're doing it in volumes, like in
yep,
chunks, 2 episode chunks. And I've seen a lot of people on the internet like talk about this at length. Like, I would have preferred it a weekly drop. I'd have preferred it this way. I'd have
yeah,
preferred it that way. And what's interesting is when you think back to Stranger Things, it was the first TV show that kind of introduced us to binge watching. And then
yeah,
as it's rounding off and ending, it's introducing us to like a new era of binge watching, which is like segments.
volumes, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
really interesting, like when you look at it as its like lifespan over a decade,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, because
changed.
I feel like appetites have changed quite a lot, which is why we're having that discussion now about actually,
Yeah,
I would kinda like the option. I don't want all of it straight away. I wanna have time to think about it. And that's actually you've reminded me to kind of just sort of remind people. So if you're in the US, the first 4 episodes will drop on November the 26th, and that's at 8 PM Eastern Time. And then the next 3 are on Christmas Day, so December the 25th, again at 8 PM. And then the final episode is New Year's Eve at 8 PM Eastern Time. For us here in the UK, you need to remember that that is slightly later. So it'll be November the 27th at 1 AM, then it will be December the 26th, again at 1 AM, and then it'll be January the 1st. So it's weird because for America, it's ending the year with the end of this show. Like you close out 2025 and that's Stranger Things done. Whereas we're going to start 2026 by ending it.
yeah, that seems
Literally,
weird.
if you're awake for on New Year's Eve for the fireworks, stay awake for an hour and then watch the finale. So yeah, that's so for the UK to remind you, 27th of November, 26th of December, and 1st of January for the episode drops. Because I something that I'm getting asked about quite a bit is, oh, it's 26th. I'm like, no, for us, 27th. Like if you're waking up on the 26th and you're going straight to Netflix, please don't be disappointed because there's time difference things going on. I think the only slightly worrying thing about that is that it means that if you're not watching it at 1 a.m. on, you know, Thursday this week, there's going to be spoilers all over social media.
Yeah, yeah, that is very true. I'm gonna have to log off.
Okay, season 1 to 4.
Mm.
let's start at the beginning. Do you have a kind of ranking of your seasons?
Oh, I've not really thought of that.
No, I haven't really thought about it either, to be honest. Because in having rewatched it, which I have done in time for season 5, I
Mm,
feel like I've changed my mind on a lot of different aspects of it. So I
yeah,
think I was very swept up in pretty much the most sort of popular opinion of it. Season 1, excellent, loved it, no notes, amazing. Season 2 didn't seem as well liked, and I
mm,
do remember thinking at the time that it wasn't quite working for me. Season 3, everyone comes back and they're like, "The mall! Oh my god, it's so cool!" It's a lot brighter, it's a lot more dynamic. There's so much more going on. And then season 4, everyone's like, "My god, these episodes are so long, but this is amazing." Um, but in
yeah.
rewatching it, I appreciate season 2 so much more,
That's interesting.
apart from the one episode.
Which episode?
The episode which is like some weird backdoor pilot for Eleven and her group of friends in the city. That's it's number 8, isn't it? Um,
Yeah.
you see them at the beginning of the season, and then Eleven runs away and goes and finds them, and they have that random, completely separate episode where she's having an adventure with them. I do not get on board with that episode, as most people don't. But other than that, I think season 2 is really underrated.
That's interesting. I think for me, like instinctively, I will probably change my mind once I think about it. But like, I'd maybe go 4, 1, 3, 2.
Like it, yeah,
Season 4 for me really, like season 1 to 3 was really cute. Season
yeah,
4 is when it was like, oh shit, this is like,
yeah,
pay attention, like buckle in.
yeah.
So, and there's some scenes in season 4 that I think are some of like the coolest scenes we've ever had in TV. I
Mm,
don't want to spoil my list when we get to it, but there's some nods in there. I'm sure you can probably guess one of them. Um, and like the villain, I think obviously Vecna is really, really cool, and
yeah.
the stuff that he gets away with in season 4 is quite interesting.
There's quite
And
an interesting escalation to the villains
yeah,
because
they kind of
obviously
develop
you're
a bit each season, which is
yeah,
fun.
you've really only got the idea of the Demogorgon in the first season, and
Yeah,
then you introduce the Mind Flayer, which does okay, kind of go across 2 and 3, but then you throw in Vecna, and it's like, whoa, okay,
yeah. It's like shit got real.
yeah. But then I can also see a little bit of this is going to sound like I'm kind of knocking the show, which I'm not. This is not a criticism. Um, I do feel like there's a little bit, maybe not between 2 and 3, of a not having a grand plan until we get to 4, because you have your Demogorgon, and then I guess writing season 1, they don't know it's gonna be, like, the biggest show ever in the history of streaming, so probably weren't even thinking about having a second season. So then they get the second season, and they introduce the Mind Flayer, which I think is really cool and looks great. Then I suppose that season doesn't quite review as well and feels like it's not gelled as much. So
Mm,
it's almost like a bit of a creative reset with season 3, where it's still the Mind Flayer, but you can see it go from that slightly darker, murkier show to the more like colorful show that we have now,
mhm,
particularly with the mall. And I don't know if that's also to do with moving through the 80s a bit. Um, and then Vecna is such a massive step up, but then you don't have anything setting up Vecna before that, because he's not even been sort of hinted at before, that you're then like, "Oh, but how does he connect to what happened to Will back then?" Which if you've watched this is only a spoiler if you've not watched the 5-minute preview for season 5. Um, season 5, episode 1 will go back and fill in some of the blanks, which I think I really appreciate them doing. Spoiler alert if you've not watched that 5-minute preview.
It's in the trailer, to be fair. I
It
watched
is
the
also yeah,
trailer this morning, and, yeah, it hints that they're gonna go back and maybe fill in blanks,
yeah.
so good to know that they do.
Yeah, yeah, which I really appreciate, because I do feel like it then goes back and at least sets a precedent that he's been around this whole time, even if we don't yet know everything that he's been doing. And obviously, we have a bit of an idea why he's doing it because he hates 11, but you know, there's still so much unknown.
Yeah. You've got a lot of ground to cover. I mean, every episode's like a movie in this season, right, in terms of length?
So I think we know for sure how much the first 4 are. and they're all around the sort of 90 minutes. The first episode that I saw was 70, about 75 minutes. So I
A
think
lot.
they're all between kind of 70 and 90 minutes. They did they've completely debunked the theory that it's gonna get to, like, 4 hours. Um, I just saw a TikTok with them, with the Duffer Brothers, where they were asked about the final 4, and they said it's pretty much the same. They're pretty much all around the 90 minutes. The only episode this season that breaks 90 minutes is the finale, which is 2 hours, so not 2.5 like the last finale. So it seems like this season's actually a little bit shorter. So I
Okay.
don't know whether they felt like people weren't happy that it ran so long last time.
I don't remember it running too long. I don't know if
I d
that's
I yeah, having rewatched it, I don't feel like there's been an episode that's run too long, but I don't it's so difficult to know. I guess the algorithm probably tells them a lot. Netflix must have so much data on how often do people pause an episode and go away and then come back? How much do they start an episode and then not finish it? I'd love to know the wealth of, like, statistical data that exists when you're on a platform like Netflix.
yeah, they must have so much about, like, what we get
Yeah.
up to. Yeah, that is interesting though. I, I'm definitely interested to see what the episodes are gonna shape up like, because obviously they've made a really big deal of them being movie-like, and I
Mm.
think that's a really big selling point of this season that I'm seeing is, like, the quality has gone up. It's a very movie,
Mm.
quality, so I'm interested to see if it delivers in that realm, both, like, cinematically,
Yeah.
story-wise, like, all of the things you'd expect, so
Yeah.
we
I
shall
feel
see.
like you can see that growth in scale as well. Like, season 1 feels so small,
Yeah.
and it's not a small show, but it feels really small in comparison to where we are at the end of 4, um,
Mhm.
and maybe where we are at the beginning of 5. Um, but I also think that's a fun way to go back and watch it and see it develop as well, is just how personal it feels to begin with Will missing and how Joyce deals with that, to then Will's kind of PTSD, I guess, in season 2, to then in 3 going, actually, there's the Russians and there's, all this, there's bunker underneath the mall, and then there's things happening in Russia, and there's more people involved, and it's a wider conspiracy. And then you go into 4, and it's like, we're going to take Joyce to Russia. And I love how much it escalates through the seasons as well.
Yeah, it really goes for it. I guess there's a really good argument. Obviously, when the show starts, they're very naive and they're all really young, and it's like
Yeah.
just the 80s. It's just starting. It's like the dawn of a new decade. Then as
Yeah.
it goes, they're growing with it, and
Yeah.
then knowledge of like what's going on is obviously expanding, and the 80s is becoming more the 80s. It's more colorful. So
Yeah.
you could maybe argue it was intentional, but I don't think it
Yeah.
was.
No, I think you can. Yeah. It's an analogy, isn't it, for growing up and becoming aware of the world around you a bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Yeah. I just
So
it
good.
just I just can't wrap my head around how you can even come up with the concept of it all, and whether they even had the whole concept of it to begin with, or whether they've changed it as they've gone along. Like, I still don't feel like I understand exactly what the Upside Down is, so I really hope, I'm sort of jumping slightly ahead, um, that we understand a bit more coming out of the final season as to what it actually is and why it exists, or how it's existed, or how long it's existed for.
Yeah, we really don't know much, do we, at this point? It's
No, 'cause
quite
something
new.
that I had forgotten from season 4 until we rewatched it, was I think it's the penultimate episode where, um, Nancy, Steve, and the others are trapped down there. They're with Robin, and they go to the Wheeler's house to find her guns, because they
Yes.
think they're trapped and they wanna get to one of the gates, so they go to the house, but the house is still frozen in time on the day that Will crossed over, rather than reflecting the house on the day that they crossed over, so her guns aren't there and her diary is back in time to 1983. Um,
Mm.
and I'd forgotten all of that, so I'm like, "So actually you're time traveling when you go in there as well?" But I don't know if that happens every time you go in there, or if that was specific to what had happened to them. There's just so much to understand. I just don't know how we're gonna be able to understand that all by the end of this.
No, yeah, there's a lot of, like, mechanics, like you say, like, the mechanics of the Upside Down and
Yeah,
the law. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so I
yeah,
hope they do it, but
yeah.
it is a
Let's
lot.
do okay, I feel like there's a lot that we wanna talk about.
Yes,
Let's do favorite moments and characters then. Um,
let's do it. So,
Favorite go okay, tell me your favorite characters then.
okay, I feel like mine are probably pretty obvious, but I feel like the most underrated character is Nancy. I
Love
think
Nancy.
she seems to me like the embodiment of like an 80s like action like heroine, like
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver's, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned when she has the shotgun in the last
Sh
episode, I think it
okay,
is, of season 4.
I again had completely forgotten that she basically, from the moment she discovers what's going on, at some point is just almost always wielding a gun.
Yeah, like she's armed and ready, and she isn't afraid to use it as well. Like in
Yeah,
season 1, I think her and Steve shoot the Demogorgon, and like
yeah.
she has a history with guns.
Yes.
uh, but I love her so much because she's
I'm interested to know what her political leanings are.
me too.
How does she feel about gun control?
A very valid question. Or Area 51. Uh, Also interested to hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but Nancy, I think, as a character is really interesting because when we meet her, she's kinda like that typical 80s teen. She's kind of a
yeah.
bit annoying, and she's, like, I think just coming out of our high school, and obviously Barb's still alive, and then
Oh,
obviously as time progresses, like, she loses people and, like, she grows up really fast, and
yeah.
yeah, I just think her
She doesn't
character
have
goes
much
through a
choice
lot.
about it, does she? She's kind of
Yeah,
forced to grow up.
exactly, and she kinda takes on, like, that journalist
Yep,
approach, thinking, like, season 2 and 3.
yep.
And she just has this really cool authority and, like, agency as a character that I always find really interesting, and
Yep.
then couple that with just her want to just shoot the shit out of whoever's trying to kill her. It's really epic and really fun to watch.
So I'm gonna say you're gonna love where she is at the beginning of 5.
Love that.
I'm not gonna say anything else because I don't wanna be that guy. I don't want to be like, but because of everything that you just said, she is in a like, she is in probably what you would define as, like, the perfect role when
Yeah,
season 5 starts. Um, do you know how I wanna shout out as an underdog?
go on.
Karen Wheeler.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm slightly worried for Karen in season 5 because of Vecna showing Nancy this vision of, like, her family wiped out, and there's some stuff in the trailers that I'm like, "Uh-oh, I am worried." Bec This is which is something that I wanna talk about with the show in general. I just think Karen's a great character. Not only does she have the most 80s hair at every stage of the 80s, uh, but bless her, she's, like, thirsting after Billy. She
Who
she's
is it?
got one complete sap of a husband in Ted.
Yeah,
Um, I just she deserves she deserves better.
it's yours. I mean, her lust for Billy is totally valid, and I'm right there with her, honestly. Like, who
Uh,
is
she was in, so Cara Buono, who plays her, was in Supergirl. She was, uh-oh, gonna have a mental blank. She was, the character who, no, come on! But she was a fairly major role in it. One thing that I really wanted to talk about was consequences because I feel like the show doesn't necessarily do it all that well. Um, and killing so part of that is killing people off. Uh, and also there is a weird theme almost. Barb, season 1, pretty much the only person who is a kind of named speaking part who gets killed off. Season 2, Bob. Season 3, Billy. 3 Bs.
creepy?
Barb, Bob, and Billy. To which I'm like, oh, they kill off the bees. And then someone goes, and remember Eddie in season 4? And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Oh.
his real first name was like Bruce. I don't know. Um, that's the twist. Uh, but so I feel like when they do kill someone off, it's normally it's done so like seismically in the plot because Barb obviously pushes Nancy in a really specific direction. Bob is really traumatic for Joyce when he gets killed off. Billy is massive for what happens to poor old Max, and that's why she is so susceptible to Vecna in season 4. And then Eddie is just this big, like a bombastic, amazing Metallica moment, which I have a story about. Um, but even though those are really big moments, I feel like in a way, the core group is always safe, and I sort of don't want to feel like the core group is safe. I know they talked about how at one point they had they were gonna kill Steve off really early, and they haven't, which makes me worried for Steve in season 5. Um, but I just feel like it needs somebody fairly major to get killed off at some point for this to feel I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to say disappointed if they haven't killed off a major character because that's cruel. I feel like there needs to be emotional stakes, and I'm not sure that there will be enough emotional stakes if we don't feel like all our favorite characters could be killed off. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. I actually have a note laid down in my notes, and it says, "Have you been watching the Welcome to Derry, like the It spin-off?"
I've only seen the first one so far.
Well, I've been keeping up with it, like, on the internet, but I've not really
Yeah,
found it to watch it. It's not any, like, streaming service I've got. But one thing that TV show seems to do really well, like, from the outside looking in, is no character is safe,
yeah,
and the stakes are really high, and I think that's something Stranger Things needs to do. I
yeah,
think the plot armor around all of the characters, like, them all surviving, like, it needs to run out, and I'm with you. Some characters,
yeah.
I don't want them
And
to die. I think it it needs to happen for, like, us as the audience to feel it's been, like, satisfying, because otherwise
yeah,
Vecna's just gonna get killed off, and we're all gonna
yeah,
go, "Great."
that's exactly it. So we'll get into it in theories. I do have some kind of ideas in my head as to what and who it might be, but I know there's lots of theories out there on the internet as well, and there's kind of a there's sort of an obvious ending that I don't want to be the ending, but we'll get to that in a second. Um,
Okay.
so you've done your underdog. Any other favorites?
I mean, I think Max, I'm sure it's a pretty obvious choice, but I think her character in season 4, like, obviously she joined the group late. She was, like, a later addition,
I
and
forgot that she was season 2. I thought she was season 3
yeah,
until I
and
just rewatched it.
I think sometimes characters like that, they can usually fall short because 'cause you've kind of
Yeah,
invested in the originals.
yeah,
Um, but her character and the way it's been written and the way it's been acted, by Sadie Sink specifically, I think it's really made her pop, and obviously her character in season 4 has some of the best, like, sequences, like, hands down, like, obviously the obvious one being the
yeah,
running up the hill chase scene, but just her character and, like, what she's going through, like, with grief and just everything she's having to, like, battle makes her really interesting to me. So I'd
yeah.
definitely say Max is up there as well.
That's a really good choice. That is a really, really good choice. She's an amazing actor, and I'm really interested to see her in Spider-Man, um, and see
Yes,
what she brings to that universe. Um,
me too.
I know she does a lot of stage work as well, so I'd be really interested to see her in a play of some kind as well, to see what she's like on stage, because she has really great presence in this.
She
Um,
does. Also in the Taylor Swift, "All Too Well" music video, which is a short film, and
oh,
she's, even though it's only a 10-minute music video, she's really amazing in that as well.
hmm.
She has that thing about her where the minute she pops onto the screen, I'm in, I'm invested, so I'm ready.
It
Whatever she
really
wants
won't
to
surprise you to know that I haven't seen that.
do. Well, you've got homework, I guess. She's really good in it, to be fair. It is a really
Hmm.
good,
For her, I
performance.
might watch it.
It's really good. You know who is an underrated character, actually, just to go back
Yeah.
for a 1 sec? Winona Ryder's character. I know, like,
She
obviously,
yeah,
like, season 1, like, she is the reason the show is as big as it is, because all of
she has
us,
been through it in the last 10 years.
yeah, like, when this show became a thing, and we was like, Winona Ryder's on a random TV show on Netflix,
Yeah,
like, she's quite the icon, and, like, her, again, with the lights and the way she was, like, after her kid, and the way she delivered it and the way she performed it, that is the reason this TV show blew up. Like, her character is
yeah.
quite literally the foundation of the show. So, and she continues to be that as well. Like, she's like
She
the
really does,
comfort.
yeah. We have
So
very similar character tastes in this show. Um, I was
love it.
just gonna shout out my favorite character, which is Steve.
Yeah,
He just has such amazing hair.
he does, and he's really sweet.
I couldn't do that hair, unfortunately. My hair is too like, it's too dead straight. I don't have that kind of volume.
I could never. I
It's not
can't begin to imagine how long he takes to do that in the morning.
not for lack of trying. Um Interesting that neither of us have named any of the core four.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the
Do you
supporting
okay,
cast do a lot of the heavy lifting.
yeah, so maybe this is a different kind of question. Um, which one are you of the core four in your D&D group?
Oh, probably 11 because I don't really know what's going on. Whenever I've played D&D, it's just me asking questions and wanting to leave to go and eat. So that does feel very 11 coded. And that's not because I'm not interested, it's just because I have the attention span of a goldfish.
I don't know which one I would be. I feel like I'm probably a Will. I'm probably the one that gets stuck in the upside down.
Main character energy.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, I'm definitely not a Mike, and I'm not a Lucas because I can't play basketball. Um, maybe I'm somewhere between a Dustin and a Will. I'll take that.
Yeah, I think they're good choices. I
Okay,
like
what are favorite moments? So you just mentioned the running up that hill, which is obviously like, and her rising up against the grave is like totally iconic for this show.
yeah.
Other like favorite moments or moments that you think are underrated, to be fair as well, like moment that you enjoyed that you don't think other people shout out enough.
Oh, that's a really good question. I
You mentioned
think,
one from my list, which is Nancy and Steve attacking the Demogorgon and the buyer's house in season one. Because I
yes.
feel like that's a massive turning point for the show itself, where you're like, oh, okay, this show is going to go to like, it's not just a missing child, slightly supernatural drama. Like, we're going to go like crazy fantasy show too.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the turning point, like you say, where when that happens, it goes
Mm,
from, oh, this is kind of dark and kind of, like you say, like Lost Child vibes to, oh no, this is some serious sci-fi. Like we're
yeah,
jumping in, like so I definitely think that's up there. I have so many like great moments. Again, I mentioned Nancy's like evolution and like her
yeah,
killing Vecna, and Winona with the lights, of course. But things like the 80s montage in season 3 when Max and 11 like are changing outfits. It's very reminiscent of that era of like cinema and like the way they're doing the hair and like they're putting on all the funky things from the 80s. It's just really
yeah.
sweet.
So I have a musical moment as well, which is from the first episode of season two. It's really early in the episode, just when they're like headed to school and we're seeing the town for the first time in season two. They play the song "Just Another Day" by Oingo Boingo, which is an '80s band I love. Lead singer is Danny Elfman, as in the composer Danny Elfman. It's one of my favorite songs. So when it was in there, I was just like, oh, such a good moment. They know how to pick. Obviously, "Running Up That Hill" is a very was a very famous song anyway. Um, but I feel like other than that one, a lot of their musical choices are just a little bit like left of center. It's not like the obvious one. It's still something that you might know or you might recognize, and it's obviously from that year, that era. But it's always just not quite the obvious choice, which I really appreciate. I think
Yeah,
it's
like
just another sign of that level of detail that they're like, well, yeah, you might know Running Up That Hill, but maybe you don't know this song by this other slightly obscure band who were just as big back then, but maybe aren't so well known now.
yeah, that is a really interesting one. Like the song choice, like in the trailer for the new season, they've
Mhm.
chosen "Who Wants to Live Forever" by Queen, I believe the
Yeah,
name is.
that's a very big choice.
Which is like Queen is obviously like one of the biggest bands ever, but that song choice I think is a little bit like not strange, but it does kind of like you say, veer off the beaten path. It's a bit of a left field
Yeah,
choice. So it is interesting. And
yeah,
that song choice specifically, I think hints at like other things to come.
yeah, definitely. I feel like all of their songs choices for the trailers have been very pointed, like,
Yeah.
using "Journey" Worlds Apart
Yeah.
in the season 4 trailer. I'd forgotten that that's in the penultimate episode as well, right at the end when they're going into the house. Um, I felt like that was a very pointed idea as well about being everyone being worlds apart from each other. So I do,
Mm.
yeah, I've thought a lot about why they've chosen that Queen song. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think if there's any other really like standout moments that I wanted to highlight. Um, anything with Robin and Steve because I love their relationship. I think it was really a great choice for that not to be a romantic relationship because that was that could have gone a really obvious way, and the fact that it didn't is amazing, and I love that.
That was literally the next one on my list. That were so in sync.
We
Their
are in
relationship,
sync.
and specifically, it's the part where they're sat in the bathroom and they're both on the floor.
Yeah,
Do you know which one I mean? Where they're in the cubicle.
yeah,
It's like Robin coming out, and obviously when you think of the context of the time and like, yeah, it's just really well
yeah,
done. It was really well handled,
yeah.
and they play it really well, which is great. Um,
Which made me think of Paul. I just want Will to tell Mike that he loves him.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know that Mike. I don't want. I don't ship them. I'm not. I am too old. Um, but I just want him to tell him, just so that he's been honest, and just so that Mike can go, okay, I love you, but as a friend.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I feel like you can just see it all the way back to the beginning. And again, I had forgotten the moment when they're in the pizza van right before they get to 11, right at the end of season 4. And they've kind of not had a great relationship, the two of them, in season 4 up to that point. Um, and Will's just like, look, you will get to her. You were made for each other. You will always find each other. And then he just turns and looks out the window and he cries. And it's like, oh God,
Was
just
that book?
tell him. And he's made the painting for him that he took to the airport that he didn't give him. And I'm like, oh, just
Oh,
tell the guy that you love him.
yeah. He suffered a lot.
Really interestingly, and this is not me spoiling anything, um, Noah Schnapp, in an interview during the junket for this new season, was asked who he really enjoyed having scenes with in season 5, and he
Mm.
said he really appreciated the kind of new dynamic between him between Will and Robin, as in Maya Hawke, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I feel like you have a way to connect with her character because her character is a bit more out and proud. So I wonder if she's going to end up being someone that he confides in. It just, the minute he said it, I thought, I regret hearing that you said that. So I'm sorry that I've just spoiled it for
Ah,
you and for anyone else watching this. But I just feel like him saying that Will is going to spend time with Robin is like, well, that's like, I
yeah.
feel
I
like
mean,
that tells us quite a lot.
it does tell us quite a lot, and hopefully that is where it's going because that's
Mm,
perfect.
maybe this is a good segue into theories and things that we would like to see in season 5.
I think that is an excellent segue.
Now, you tell me that there's lots of things out there on the internet. I have been trying to avoid it as much as possible, but I have seen little bits, and I do have a few ideas of my own. What does the internet think is happening?
Well, there's quite a lot. So, like, if you go digging, there's a
Yeah.
lot of discourse on. 'Cause I think just to like add context, I think Game of Thrones ending completely burnt people, and anytime a show like this that is of this level is come to its end,
If
people
I
start.
am watching any episode towards the end of this season and a bell rings, I am
Yeah,
done. I am out. I am off.
I'm off. But I think
I'm not
because of
having the character go mad because a bell rang.
that, after several seasons of law and
Yeah.
personal growth, that they wouldn't do this one thing just for a bell to go off, and she'll go, actually, let me just revert back all of that hard
Burn
work
them
and
all.
fuck this city up.
Burn them all to hell.
So yeah, but
Can you
because of
imagine? I
that,
mean, so
people panic.
actually, okay, let's just say it. If they don't stick this landing, they might as well quit Hollywood
For real, because the
because
people
I
that make
think
Game
the
of Thrones have
internet
like
will
people.
melt if this does not stick the landing.
So one of the theories that a lot of people don't like the idea of
Yeah,
is Eleven sacrificing herself. People think
that's
that is
exactly what I think might happen.
so. There's two sides to this coin. There's 11 sacrifices herself. There is 11 loses her powers and kind of joins the world as a normal
To
air
be
quote
normal. Yeah.
normal. And people love the idea of her like option B, but people hate option A. Like the idea of her sacrificing herself is just not it. So
Because I have this idea in my head of what I don't want the final scene to be. And I don't want the final scene to be she has sacrificed herself to close the upside down, uh, or she has had to be trapped in there because they can't destroy it, but she can destroy every gate to it.
Yeah.
And the final scene is the four boys playing one last game of D&D.
Yeah, like, that to
Because
me
I
just
just
feels
feel like that's the too obvious image to circle back to. Because obviously everything is an analogy to D&D, and, like, Vecna isn't really his name. Vecna is the name of a D&D character that they have given to him, like the Mind Flayer was, like the Demogorgon was.
yeah.
So I just feel like it's too obvious to end on them playing D&D. As much as that would be a sweet ending, it just feels too obvious.
It goes back to what we said earlier on of the consequences, like,
Yeah,
they can't return to that sweetness that we were introduced with because 'cause we've
yeah.
evolved beyond that. It needs
Yeah, because
to
you're not gonna come out of that normal.
no, you're not gonna go back to playing D&D and being happy in your parents' basement after you've watched multiple people, friends, family, loved ones get brutally killed. It's just not how it works, like, at
No,
all.
I just nearly said a spoiler. I nearly did it.
Oh god.
Ok so, I'm gonna do this as vaguely as I can.
Yeah, good
I
luck.
was having a conversation with someone the other day who said they felt like the Vecna thing was too on the nose because they explain when they're playing D&D with Eddie before we've met Vecna, they mention Vecna and basically lay out his power set as the D&D character, and then we meet the villain. So I was talking to someone who was like, "Do you know what? I feel like that's just too on the nose because they kind of told us who he was before we'd ever seen him or we knew of the concept of him."
Yeah.
And there is a discussion
Ooh.
in the first episode of season 5 um, about what people might do if they had lived through a similar scenario to what they have lived through in the show. There's like a, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if this happened?" And I just watched that moment and went, "I hope you didn't just tell me the ending in the first episode." Like, if I get to the end of 8 and you're doing the thing that you just said, then you told me 8 episodes before it happened. So, it's just the kind of analogy that happens in a very similar place in a very similar episode to how they explained Vecna before we saw him, and I was like, "Oh, I
That
wonder."
is interesting.
Yeah. I think I
Well,
said that without spoiling anything.
yeah, to me, that was completely vague, so I feel like you smashed that. Well done.
It made no sense whatsoever. Um,
It does lean into my second theory, though, which is the
yep.
whole meta, like, the D&D,
Yeah.
it's all that kind of it was all a dream, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and they can't do that because that would piss me off. Like,
Imagine if that is so imagine that final scene is them playing D&D, but it's them, like, de-aged, and the
yeah, like,
whole thing didn't happen. It was
it
all a
was Will was
dream.
in a coma.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd hate that. Like, that would be truly awful. Like, if we get to the end of episode 8 and he wakes up de-aged in a hospital bed and it was all a comatose dream,
Because he got
I
hit by a car after he left that night.
yeah, because he fell off his bike on the way home.
Or
I
there's always the lost ending. Maybe he's just in, he's in purgatory because he's not crossed over to the afterlife.
again, what a horrible ending! Because you've been on a decade's worth of a journey for something
Hmm.
that was nothing. Like,
So what would you like the ending to be?
I think it needs. Do you know what would be interesting? I don't think they'll do it because I don't know if they have the balls to do it. But like the villain not winning, but
Yeah.
like we never really see it where the villain really makes like a dent and you get to the end of a program or a film where the villain's impact is so insane and even though the heroes won, it's not super satisfying because he did so much damage.
Yeah.
That to me I think would be cool if they could do it right at the correct way. Because Vecna as a villain does feel like the kind of like Voldemort, kind of, where like the damage he's going to make,
Yeah.
there's no way you're
Should
going to get that out.
consequences. Consequences.
It all comes back, yeah, consequences. I need consequences. I need
Mm,
something like the upside down folding into the real world and it all becomes one, like
wow.
something, you know?
Well, so we know that the Duffer Brothers are developing a spin-off,
Yeah.
um, and they've said that. So a quote I saw today, they said there is a small moment in the finale which nods to what this other show is going to be if it gets made. Um, and the other thing that they made really clear was that this is a story that could only happen to these characters at this time, and that whatever this other show would be will be in this world, but nothing to do with these characters or this. So I don't know what it could be. We'll have to wait until we get to episode 8 to see if we notice it. They said people might not notice it. It's so small. They're waiting to see if anybody does notice it. So it feels like the world is not going to end. So that's
Well,
probably not an ending. Um,
yeah.
and that there's some other mystery to explore somewhere. I don't even know what that could be. Maybe there are other universes.
Maybe a different board game affects a different group of
Jumanji?
teenagers, and now we're in like Monopoly. No, I'm
It's
kidding.
the comedy spin-off. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is my thing. I feel like if there's a spin-off TV show that's been discussed, then the upside down closing or any form of like total,
Yeah.
like close the door, like that
Does it
can't be
take away from closure by there being more story to tell at some other point in the world?
exactly. I feel like for our characters that we've come to know and love, we can probably get some closure, but the
Mm,
mechanics of like this other world, that's still going to have to be a possibility if
yeah.
sequels and spin-offs are an option. So that's why my theory of the villain not necessarily winning, but doing something that is irreversible, I think makes a little bit of sense, I hope.
Yeah, I was trying to think of if there's any kind of 80s movie precedent for how these movies sort of end, but it is a little bit happily ever after. But I really don't see them doing like a high five freeze frame, like Breakfast Club style. Um,
No.
like we saved the day. Yeah.
No, I don't either.
Um, is there anybody that you are genuinely worried for at this point coming into the season?
Oh, that's a really good question. With the names blanking. Is it Lucas with Max?
Or maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think his character feels very much like he's gonna do like the sacrifice to save her kind of
Maybe.
thing.
Yeah.
That's who I'm majorly worried for. And my other theory is that her character, obviously, she has a connection to the Upside Down in some way, shape, or form, or like another something. So it'd be cool if she gained some powers just to like level up the
Yeah.
squad. Because currently it's just 11, and I think yeah, it'd be cool to have some extra firepower, so to speak. So
Mm,
that is my theory. I again,
interesting.
I've not watched it. I've not seen anything. This is just stuff I wrote in my Google Doc on the 20th of November when I started making these notes. So yeah, because Max's consciousness and
Yeah.
Vecna are obviously very
They're stuck, they're kind of intertwined at this point in some way. Yeah.
yes. So like I guess with that in mind, if she is connected to Vecna, her like her getting out of this season alive is probably very slim because if she's connected to Vecna, there's high chance that she might need to die for him to die with him, if that makes sense. Kind of like Horcruxes, again, very Harry Potter coded, like for
Interesting. Yeah.
Voldemort to die, higher to die, that kind of vibe.
Yeah. There are some supposed spoilers out today. I don't really know. I've tried to avoid them as best I can. Um, I've read a few bits on episode one because obviously I've seen it, so I feel kind of safe to read about what people are saying about episode one. And there are
Yeah.
some wild theories about episode one that I'm like, no.
No.
Um, and I was telling you the other day, wasn't I, that somebody had reached out to me because they thought they had heard this thing about episode one, and they were like, "Oh my god, does this happen?" And I was like, "No,
No.
no, it doesn't." And I'm not even lying. Like there, I, yeah,
The theories are crazy. I mean, again, I've got like a list as long as my arm of theories for this TV show, and most of them are genuinely quite crazy. Like Karen Wheeler, like there was one. Is it Karen? That is correct,
yeah,
isn't it? Karen? there was some stuff to do with her and like her family that kept coming up, and like, is she connected to someone? Is she not? There was stuff around like Vecna not necessarily being the big bad, which is very D&D
Well, because
inspired.
I don't know or at this point understand the Mind Flayer and Vecna.
This is the thing. Like
Are they
you think
friends? Do they know
if
each other?
yeah,
Are
like
they
are they
working
family?
together?
Have they interacted? We
Yeah,
don't know. But like when you think of like a D&D game, if you're the dungeon master, you have a lot of different like
you have
you know,
control over all of
you
that. Yeah,
control all of it. So like are they pawns in someone else's bigger game? It's quite interesting. And
yeah,
the trailers suggest Vecna is the big bad, and we've come to learn
seems
that he's
to.
the big bad.
Yeah. Have you
We-
watched the new trailer that came out today, the Volume 1 trailer?
I have watched it just before we came into this.
Okay, so there are scenes in that of like a big fight at like army base
Yes.
that I thought, because there have been shots from that in all the trailers, I thought that was going to be like the grand finale. So the fact that that is supposedly volume one, I'm now like,
Well, yeah, because you see in both trailers, you see a shot of Vecna, what appears to be that same base coming out
yeah,
of like an upside down, I'm gonna
yep,
call it portal, doorway, who knows? Um, so yeah, like they've pitched it as like this is the big moment, but
yeah. It,
technically, I don't think it is.
no, because that's the shot where he gets Will and he's like, we have more work to do, or like there's more to be done. And then
Yeah,
there's Nancy with Gun, obviously, because Nancy Gun.
of course.
Yeah. So I now I'm like, all bets are off at this point. Okay, I do. We've only got a few minutes left, and I do want to hype what I have seen without spoiling what I have seen.
Go for
Um,
it.
so my first point: don't go into this first episode, thinking it's going to be like wall to wall action, start to finish, because I think this season's really complex, like really
Mhm.
complex, because there are a bunch of different storylines that are happening in the Upside Down and in our world. There are things to do with the end of season 4 with the earthquake and like everything cracking at the very end of season 4 that they have to set up what that now means for the town. So the first episode, which again I repeat is the only one I've seen, I've not seen any more, has a lot of setup. There is a lot of setup, but it's all really worthwhile. And amazingly, even though it's only 75-ish minutes rather than like 3 hours long, you still spend time with everyone. And I do mean like everyone in that ensemble. So, you spend a bit of time with Joyce, you spend time with Hopper, you spend time with all of the kids. You literally spend time with everyone. You're seeing pretty much all of the kind of parents. You're seeing the high school. You're seeing what Steve's up to. You're seeing what Robin's up to. You're seeing Nancy. You're seeing Jonathan. Everyone. The entire ensemble is in the episode. So it's a lot to catch up, but it is. I almost feel like you could come into it having only watched like a recap of the first 4 seasons. They've made it quite accessible for people who want to jump on, I think, which is probably partly on purpose. But once you've done that, oh boy, like this season is like, if this is season 1 and like season 2 is not like that much bigger, and then
Mm.
like season 3 you're like we're a bit bigger, and then season 4 you're like, oh, okay, we're a bit bigger. uh
Huge.
yeah, there is a lot of money in this season. It looks amazing. And then it ended on one motherfucker of a cliffhanger. So I've been waiting a couple of weeks for it to be out. So I am very excited. I'm not gonna go like massive on the hyperbole and be like best season ever. Because after someone saw that I had been at it, there was an outlet that reached out to me and were doing a write up on people's reactions, and they said, "Can you tell us whether you thought it was the best season premiere?" And I don't know that it's the best of all 5 seasons. I don't know that you can top the first ever episode, and I'm not sure that you can top like the first episode of season 3 or 4. I feel like they're all great in their own way. So it's not like I came out of it being like, this is the best episode, but it is great. If it is if this is the mission statement of what season 5 is going to be, then there is just like, there is a lot of ground to cover and it's really big in scope and a lot is happening.
I love that. Like the mission statement of the season. That's a
Yeah,
really great way of describing it. That's
yeah.
so cool. Because I
There are
think
quite
we
a few moments from that episode in the trailer. I won't tell you which, but there is a lot of episode 1 in the trailers that we've seen.
I like that because then a lot of the reveals, like again, like we've discussed it
Mm,
today, but we don't know. We don't know what we've seen and what we haven't, like
yeah.
where it places and where it falls.
Linda Hamilton, by the way, wild bit of extra casting.
Yeah, we forgot to mention her, but again, very much an 80s icon and wild to add to this cast, but love it.
Spoiler alert, is introduced in the first episode. Um, that's the only thing I'm giving away. That's all I'm giving away. Um, I think that's probably about as much as I can say without really getting myself in trouble.
I think you did a very good job. Well done.
Which I think just leaves us to say we're pretty excited.
Very excited. I think I will be there bright and early
Yeah.
watching an episode, so they're not spoiled
And I
for me.
think we're going to have to circle back at the end of it. I know we've kind of, so as we're recording this, we've got 2 more episodes left to tape this year, which are both going to be part of the wrap up of 2025. So going back to what were we excited for and going back over what have been our favorite comic books, our favorite TV shows, and our favorite movies this year. And then we want to kick off next year with what we're looking forward to in 2026, because big year next year. But I also don't want to let this show slide. So I think at some point we're going to have to, maybe second episode of 2026 will be a boohoo, it's all over. What did we think of the ending? I think we need
Yeah.
to circle back on it and be like, okay, were we happy
Yeah,
with how
I
it
think
ended?
I think it'd be good if we came back and like addressed some of the theories and the questions we had
Yeah.
in this episode. Like, did any of them
Who
come
survived?
true?
Who died? Were there consequences?
Yeah. Did we
Was
find
there a
out
benefit?
what this spin-off is? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Definitely.
So,
Okay. Remind the lovely people at home where they can find you on social media.
you can find me mainly on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Digital Spiral. And I have a lovely link tree in all of my bios, which will send you to all of the places.
So organized.
Yeah. So come find me again at the Digital Spiral.
And as usual, you can find me at Neil Vag on all your major platforms. Or if you want to keep up to date with everything that's going on with this podcast or on the website, all the latest news, all of the reviews, then head to www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk. We haven't quite finished for this year yet. As we're recording this, I'm about to go watch the new SpongeBob movie, which should be really fun. We've got Avatar coming up at the end of this year, which, fingers crossed, we might have some really cool stuff for. We shall wait and see. But yeah, the next time you see us, we're going to be starting to wrap up the year, which feels crazy to me that we're at the end of the year already, but here we are.
It's very crazy. We do have a lot of comic books still out and about, like reviews and stuff.
Yeah, we do.
So, make sure you check them out.
That's the kind of thing. People are always like, oh, you must be wrapping up for the year. It's like, well, yeah, I've got less TV to watch and I've got less movies to watch, but I have less books to read.
Yeah, it's a great time for comics. There's
They're
so
still
many.
piling up.
Yeah. Yeah, very excited.
So until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't get trapped in the upside down. Let us know what you think of Stranger Things when it starts later this week. Bye. Thanks for watching, Super Friends. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button just down below and hit the bell so that you can get notified whenever we release brand new videos. In fact, there's 2 more waiting for you to watch right here below. So what are you waiting for? Why not click play?